such a time as this.
All right, welcome to For Such a Time as This round table. Please give me a thumbs up to let me know that we are coming through loud and clear. I looked at my audios and I think I spoke for like 5 seconds and I was not on. So please, if you would, talk to us, let us know, give us a thumbs up that we are coming through loud and clear. Well, here we have a topic that might get us kicked off. The round table may lose some family members tonight. We might lose some friends tonight because we are going to dare speak truth into an area on a topic that may anger some people. Thank you, Jack, running with endurance. I remember Jack was the name. Thumbs up, other people. Good. All right, so here we're going to do war on the police or against police. I didn't even have time to put in the horrific, the absolute horrific attack in Los Angeles with those sheriffs sitting there. Did any of you hear Did any of you hear the call of the woman who called into the? Oh my goodness, it's heartbreaking. It made me want to go shoot somebody. I shouldn't have done it. She's trying to talk. Blah, 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 blah. I can't copy you. I can't 10-4 you. She's trying to talk because she has a bullet that just shot off her jaw as she's doing the tourniquet to her partner, and they actually show her da. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is evil. And while she's doing that, James Woods released the video of the dudes down the street laughing and doing a video of the woman who's trying to talk with a bullet in her jaw, trying to save her partner, the tourniquet on the ground. And that's not bad enough. That's not bad. They put him in an ambulance and they tried to block the ambulance to the ambulance should have run through the crowd and killed everybody. I'm serious. Should have gone through the crowd and killed everybody who was stopping them. And the police should have blocked off the street and taken everybody to jail who was trying to stop the ambulance and yelling pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, hope they die. Well, they should have rotted in jail for that. But anyway, I digress. We have with us who wants to say hello first? We have Prof. Eric. Eric, you want to say something first?
Good evening. I'll get started later.
Okay.
Good evening. This is Lisa Joy.
Okay.
And this is Prof. Abby. And right next to me is
Prof. Chris. Good evening.
All right. So we have quite a bit of video tonight. But I'm going to set up the first video because what we're going to do is we are going to examine all of the, not all, but the ones that have caused the most stir in our country and look at the main incidences that feeds this narrative that police are killing black people, that it's an epidemic proportions that blacks are dying. So I'm going to go back to July 17th, 2014. Eric Gardner in New York. Do you remember him? Let me play the video first. I'll play the video first, and then I'll come back, and we will look at the circumstances surrounding the event, and then I'm going to ask you, are the police, is the conspiracy true that police are killing, murdering black men? Here's the first one. July 17th, 2014, Eric Gardner, New York, basically started this epidemic we see today. Here we go.
America's largest police force is facing a serious controversy over a video that's gone viral showing officers arresting a suspect who later died. The video is wrenching, and here's ABC's Ron Claiborne.
In the video, you can see 43-year-old Eric Garner confronted by two plainclothes officers for allegedly peddling illegal cigarettes. The officers move in to arrest him. One of them puts his forearm around Garner's neck. More police join in, pinning him to the ground as he cries out. The father of 6 was rushed to a local hospital where he died.
It just snatched my heart right out my chest like I'm an empty shell right now. No justice, no peace.
The incident has stirred racial tensions in this city.
An unarmed man was subjected to a chokehold, and the result is he is no longer with us.
As he spoke, Garner's wife collapsing by his side. At issue is whether Garner was placed in a chokehold, a tactic banned by New York City police.
It's defined in the department's patrol guide that this would appear to have been a chokehold.
Police officers also appear to sit on Garner once he was on the ground, which could violate another NYPD policy.
And 2 of the arresting officers have been placed on desk duty while the incident is investigated by both police and prosecutors. This is pending autopsy results to determine the cause of Garner's death. And tonight, the Patrolman Officers Union tells ABC News that at the time that sometimes police have to employ the use of force in order to get compliance from an individual. The union went on to say that when taken out of context, necessary force can be misinterpreted then as excessive.
All right. That was July 17th, 2014. Here's some facts, and then I'll open it up to the round table. Here's some facts. The video on July 17th incident clearly shows Garner, an African-American, swatting away the arms of white officers seeking to take him into custody, telling him, "Don't touch me." So Eric Garner, you saw on the video, telling the police officer, "Don't touch me." Garner, 43, had a history of more than 30 arrests. 30 arrests dating back to 1980 on charges including assault and grand larceny. At the time of his death, Garner was out on bail after being charged with illegally selling cigarettes, the exact thing that the police were called that he was doing on the sidewalk. He was out on bail for selling cigarettes, driving without a license, marijuana possession, and false impersonation. Chokehold on a patrolman, that patrolman Daniel Pantello put on Garner was reported to have contributed to his death. But Garner, who was 6'3" and 350 pounds, suffered from a number of health problems, including heart disease, severe asthma, diabetes, obesity, and sleep apnea. Let me get this right. Pantalio's attorney and police union officials argued that Garner's poor health was the main cause of death. Watch this. The grand jury began hearing the case on September 29th and did not reach a decision until Wednesday, so there is much testimony that was presented that was not been made public. The 23-member grand jury, including 9 non-white jurors, I think acquitted the officers. No one was brought to trial, right? In order to find Officer Pantalio criminally negligent, the grand jury would have to determine that he knew there was a substantial risk that Garner would have died due to the takedown. So there you have it. The man, again, let me go back. The man had a rap sheet. Over 30 arrests. Okay. Garner was out on bail for the exact crime that he was committing when the police showed up. So the question is, did the police murder? And let me say, before I go any further, each death is tragic. No one's debating that. Anytime a life is taken and someone has to stand before the Lord God, especially if you're not covered in the blood, that is tragic. Nobody is debating that. question is, esteemed round table, did in fact the police, in your opinion, murder Mr. Gardner? Who's going to take that on? All right, go ahead.
Well, it's amazing all the facts that come out after. And that's what bothers me about all these things that have happened. Obviously, the jurors saw all the facts and didn't think they had murdered him because they were acquitted. And, you know, it's like when you have all the facts in front of you, that's why I always say when things come out in the news, wait, just wait. Let's not and yeah, if things are unjust, everyone should be appalled when things aren't taken care of. They should be rectified. But if you don't know all the facts, you shouldn't be out chanting if you don't know.
And okay, here's just something I want to answer with regard to each one of these, or maybe ask with regard to each one of these issues. Where is the evidence? This is all supposed to be evidence of racism, right? Where is the evidence of racism?
You saw it. He was a black man being choked by police.
I'm sorry. That's a little insufficient. Pastor James is laughing, right? So is Lisa Joy. As far as I'm concerned, that's insufficient.
But remember, this is what's being peddled, that again, this is the narrative. Police are killing black men. And, you know, why is this? This actually kicked off the pandemic. I say pandemic. This is a pandemic in our country. Because how many shirts did you have? I can't breathe. LeBron James went out in the NBA. Remember for how many years? I can't breathe. D Rose had it too.
Like half.
Oh my goodness.
In the NBA.
That's right. That's right.
Wear that before the games. That was like their practice jersey. Was I can't breathe.
Right. And it came from this Eric Gardner. Anything else before we go on to the next one? And again, we're not making light. We are not making light of Mr. Gardner's death. It is tragic. It is absolutely tragic.
So I understand. He had a criminal history. He was in the process of committing a crime when the police were called. That's the reason they were there. They weren't driving down the road when, hey, look, there's some guy, let's go get him.
No, there's some black guy.
Some black guy, right? I just want to make sure I got that straight, right? And he was resisting arrest. Criminal history, someone called the police, resisting arrest. Okay. Those are my three themes that we're going to see all night.
Yeah, I need to piggyback off my brother Chris here. I need to piggyback on my brother Chris here. I am a proud black man. Yeah. And part of my upbringing, and part of the upbringing of a lot of my friends and other people that I don't know, was how to behave or how to comport yourself when you're stopped by the police. My issue with the police has been with when you are innocent in a situation like Chris comes up.
That's the old rules, Eric.
Oh, well, wait, let me finish. Now, everybody used to know that if you broke the law or if you were breaking the law, all bets were off. We were told how...
That's the old rules.
We were told how to act to keep yourself from being hurt, maimed, killed, etc.
Chris Rock told us how to, too.
That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. So I'm struggling to understand the problem when you are not doing what you should be doing in the first place. That's number one. Number two, if you are in the process of resisting arrest, somebody please tell me what the police are supposed to do. I don't know. I think they're supposed to do what they've been doing for the most part. So,
but hold on, Eric. Hold on, Eric. You know the narrative that's being spun. Then, as a black man, then you tell me what do you say? How do you talk to other blacks who are pushing this narrative? And we saw it on Facebook when my wife put something up. What do you say?
I don't listen. Let me say this. Let me just tell the whole truth. I've been stopped twice by the police. Once I was stopped walking. No, I've been stopped 5 times. Okay, well, no, I haven't. Only 5, and I'm giving a look now when I say only 5. 2 times I was stopped while I was walking. So you've heard about driving while black. We can talk about walking while black, and I was stopped by the police. Okay, once I was literally 50 feet from my home. Now, let me tell you about that situation. The officer was apologetic to a fault. Because he understood what the situation was. He's stopping me. I'm walking. I'm minding my own business. And he's stopping me to ask me something. Now, we won't go into the details, but the fact of the matter is he was extremely polite and apologetic.
But how did you talk to him when he walked up to you? You didn't call him no names? You didn't curse him out or nothing?
No, I didn't. And I'm grinning because I was not in a good mood when he stopped me. But I behaved myself, and he got his information, and I went home. But no.
I have, you say stop 5 times. I think I've been stopped 5 times in Palatine, man. And I've only been here for 10 years. And I gotten out a lot of tickets that, truth be told, I deserved. I deserved. The feed, am I coming through clear? Because it seems as though someone is saying that the feed is not as good. I have an excellent condition here. Give me some feedback, Jack. It seems like someone says I'm skipping some words. So let me know what's going on here. But Jack said I don't see him saying about the connection here. But Jack said this. He said this before we go on. He said it wasn't a chokehold. It looks like the officer attempted vascular restraint to restrict blood flow to the brain to subdue Gardner, who was resisting arrest. That difference is important. So yeah, he didn't traditionally just have him and choke him and try to choke him out. He was trying to restrain him from behind. So yeah, let me know if I'm coming through clear or not, and if I'm skipping words or whatnot. Loud and clear. Thank you, Austin. So okay, here's the next one. Now this one is so much so we need 3 videos on this one. The date is August 9th, 2014. Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. That was a doozy. Here's the first video, and this is the guy who walked with Michael Brown, who initially got all of the info out, who initially started to chant, remember this? Hands up, don't shoot. He was so here's his interview shortly after the incident happened, and which the country ran with. Here it is.
It was around 1:40, 2 o'clock. We were walking down the street, empty street. We were just walking down, minding our own business. We're both headed home, and the officer is approaching us, and as he pulled up on the side of us, he didn't say freeze, halt, or nothing like we were committing a crime. He said, get the F on the sidewalk. I told the officer we were not but a minute away from the destination. He's at an angle where we're so close to his door and him, that when he tries to thrust the door open aggressively, it doesn't come an inch out before it strikes both of us. His arm extended out the window, grabbed my friend around the neck. He didn't say step back or anything like that. He started to pull my friend into the window. So the officer's trying to pull him in, and he's pulling away from the officer. He never once attempted to grab for this officer's weapon. He's still holding my friend with one arm, and now with the other hand, he's pointing his weapon. The second time he says, "I'll shoot," it wasn't even a second later before the gun just went off, and the officer let go. And that's how we were able to run at the same time. The first car I see, I duck behind for cover because I fear for my life. I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why this officer is shooting his weapon at us. And I'm watching the officer. He's pursuing my friend now that he fired another shot. It struck my friend in the back. Then my friend stopped running. His hands immediately went in the air, and he turned around towards the officer face to face. He started to tell the officer that he was unarmed and that you should stop shooting me. Before he can get his second sentence out, the officer fired several more shots into his head and chest areas, and he fell dramatically in the fatal position. I did not hear once he yelled, "Freeze, stop," or "Halt." It was just horrible to watch. It hurt him a lot. I see it in his eyes. It hurt him a lot. It was definitely like being shot like an animal. It was almost like putting someone to execution. He was a peaceful person, and he lived his life peaceful. I definitely think he's guilty of murder.
Had back, or I'm out of Chicago, yeah, with a national.
I skipped ahead, but he's a liar. What you just heard, ladies and gentlemen, was a lie. We're just going down, and I skipped ahead there. I had some technical difficulties. I started the video a little earlier. What you just heard was his friend lying through his teeth. Someone get him an Oscar. He said they were just peacefully going down the street, just minding their own business. Watch this, and I'll talk as we're looking at it. Look at this film here, because there's no sound. Look at that, Michael Brown. That's peaceful right there. Look, the little Asian man. The little Asian man is saying, "Please stop stealing from my." Let me do it again. He's saying, "Please stop stealing from my store." Michael Brown, 6'3", takes him by the throat, pushes him away. And when the little Asian man tried to stop him again, he walks towards him, stands over him. Let me do it again. Look, this is peacefully walking down the street, minding his own business. Look at that. Look at that. The man is saying, "Don't leave. Look, push him out the way." And then he comes back into the store. Oh my goodness. So, ladies and gentlemen, how is this man still walking free? This friend that started this narrative, that started this whole hands up, don't shoot lie. How is he still walking free? Let me show you how bad the Michael Brown issue was. The Washington Post, liberal, left-leaning, now we know, Marxist-loving Washington Post had to put out a video once the evidence came out. Look at this.
The Justice Department released 2 must-read investigations this month into the killing of Michael Brown by Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson that corrected the record and revealed ugly practices that institutionalized racism and hardship. They also forced me to deal with 2 uncomfortable truths. Brown never surrendered with his hands up, and Wilson was justified in shooting Brown. The report on the Ferguson Police Department detailed years of abuse by the police, the courts, and the municipal government, including evidence that all 3 balanced their books on the backs of the people of Ferguson, 67% of whom are African American. The overwhelming DOJ data provided much-needed context for why a small St. Louis suburb exploded the moment Brown was killed. His death gave voice to many who suffered in silence, but the report on the actual shooting of Brown shows him to be an inappropriate symbol. DOJ was able to present a credible picture of what happened. You can read about the fight between Brown and Wilson in the SUV and the fight over Wilson's gun on page 6, and how hands up, don't shoot, a mantra built on a lie, became the narrative of this sad affair on page 44, thanks to various media interviews done by Witness 101, whom we know now as Dorian Johnson, the friend who was with Brown that day. Yet this does not diminish the importance of what was unearthed in Ferguson by Brown's death, nor does it discredit the larger Black Lives Matter movement. In fact, the false narrative stuck because of concern over a distressing pattern of other police killings of unarmed African American men and boys. It's imperative we continue marching for and giving voice to those killed at the hands of police and others. But we must never allow ourselves to march under the banner of a false narrative on behalf of someone who would otherwise offend our sense of right and wrong. And when we discover that we have, we must acknowledge it, admit our error, and keep on marching. That's what I've done here.
So, just because it was all a lie doesn't mean the Black Lives Matters is somehow diminished. Prof. Abby, what say you?
Wasn't this the shooting that kicked off Black Lives Matter? Wasn't...
It was in 2013. They were
it was older than that. I must have bad information.
It started to give it steam.
Okay, so, but this is Michael Brown is their poster child. So how does this not discredit Black Lives Matter? I mean, does truth matter so little to these people? And let me ask one more question: if this is the best they can come up with. I mean, if there's an epidemic of police brutality against black men, then we ought to be able to come up with better examples than lies like this, shouldn't we?
Well, I have two women who disagree with you because the Michael Brown incident happened in 2014. As late as August 13th, 2019, Vice President nominees at Senator Kamala, that's how I say her name, Kamala Harris, in a tweet said this: Michael Brown's murder forever changed Ferguson and America. His tragic death sparked a desperately needed conversation and a nationwide movement. We must fight for stronger accountability and racial equality in our justice system. Abby, here's someone else who disagrees with you. Senator Elizabeth Warren said this, quote, 5 years ago, Michael Brown was murdered. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Abby? Murdered by a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Michael was was unarmed, yet he was shot 6 times. I stand with activists and organizers who continue the fight for justice for Michael. This is in 2019 when they were running for president, just last year. Fight for justice for Michael. We must confront systematic racism and police violence head on. Prof. Abby, are you going to dare disagree with the great Senators Harris and Senator Warren?
If she doesn't, I will. I don't know what happened. I know we need to stay on subject, but something happened with truth in this country. It like ran away with something. I don't know. But how are you going to? I've got it right here. August 20th, 2014. That finally, Dorian Johnson. Finally, that was 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. So 6 years ago, he did not go to jail, but he admitted on radio station The Viper 100.7 on your FM dial that he was wrong, and he recanted the whole story. Quote, a local radio station in St. Louis reported on their Facebook page last night that Michael Brown's partner in crime, Dorian Johnson, has now admitted to police that Michael Brown attacked Officer Wilson and tried to take his gun. That's on August August 20th, 2014.
You have got to be wrong, because I just read from you the two senators who were running for president, Harris and Warren. Are you going to sit up here and tell me that those two esteemed women are lying?
Could be esteemed men. They lied. Okay? They lied. They continued a false narrative.
Seems to be a pattern here.
And let me ask my question again. How is this? Let's just say it was a wrongful shooting. How is it evidence of racism? Where is the evidence of racism? We got two things going on here. Unless we're just going to say that every time a black man is shot by police, it's racism. Is that what we're now saying?
Crickets.
Well, then why did the senators? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prof. Chris.
Oh, it's okay. One other fact: the FBI investigated this and found that what the information presented that Michael Brown was moving towards the officer that he shot in the front. That the credible witnesses said he raised his hands and balled his fists and then started running. Who was in charge of the FBI or the Department of Justice at the time? And which president?
Eric Holder, Barack Obama.
Two black men. Their FBI, their Department of Justice, found that there was no wrongdoing on the part of the officer. The facts coming out, and I remember reading that too, that witness recanted, and a lot of it was the other witnesses that corroborated the story and the forensics evidence, and he kind of, well, I guess I don't want to get in trouble for lying.
Yeah.
And he, you can look at it that way.
Or if you wanted to keep his Oscar, one of the two.
One of the, you're right. This started the snowball down the hill, and that was a big one. But ever since then and before that, I was always taught, and James and Eric, we have always had these conversations when all the events that have been happening since then. Well, let's see what else comes out. Is there a video? Let's see what the video is, right? And again, my three themes: committed a crime. The police were called to look for you. He fit the description, and you resisted arrest. Those are immutable facts so far in the two that we've talked about that just seems like it's cannonballs off the side of old Ironsides.
Now, the other thing that has...
Hold on, Eric, real quickly. I want to ask this. Austin puts this in. The roots of this situation are bigotry and hatred at the individual level, which multiply themselves through institutions when they are turned loose with power and held accountable. Please explain that to me. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. Are you saying in this incident with Michael Brown, this is the case? Or are you talking about just in general, Austin? Let us know. But go ahead, Eric. You go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Without realizing what was said at that particular point in time, I do need to say two things. One, there were two findings from the Justice Department. One, they told the truth about what happened in that situation, but they also found a great deal of problems within that police department as it applied to that city. I believe that Black Lives Matter took up the mantle on that and started their onslaught of group, not individual, but group, what's the word I'm looking for?
Guilt?
Group guilt and group victimization. So if something happens on the individual level, it's because of what happens to the group. That's what Black Lives Matter is saying.
But here's the thing, though. How many police departments you think you can go to in this country and find nothing wrong? every last one of them's gonna have something wrong, right? But again, I heard I've heard as late as this year, hands up, don't shoot. Last year, a year ago, 5 years after all the evidence, well, about 3 to 4 years after all the evidence is out, Senator Harris and Senator Warren is still saying Michael Brown was murdered. So do you see what I'm saying? So you can't, boy, we can't, you gotta be specific. All right, let's go to the next one. I did not realize, boy, time is not our friend. The next one is going to be Tamir Rice. Now, Tamir Rice was, this is November 22nd, 2014. 2014 was a bad year when it comes to this. It looked like they started to ramp it up in 2014. Let me just give you a small sample. All right, the security camera video of the boy killing went viral, Tamir Rice, and the world saw a police car pull up to the gazebo and officers fire at him within 2 seconds. His body lay beneath it for more than 3 minutes while the police officer that killed stood over him and did not offer medical assistance. This is from an article, and I got tons and tons of stuff in this video that you can go back to the original articles. Let's watch this video on Tamir Rice. Again, he's 12 years old. Okay, he's 12 years old. Again, it's tragic. This is a child. He's 12 years old. Here is the video.
An Ohio grand jury today declined to indict 2 white Cleveland police officers, Timothy Lohman and Frank Garmbach, in the shooting death of 12-year-old Tamir Rice. Rice was shot in November of last year after being spotted waving a gun in a park. It turned out to be a toy. The prosecutor called the incident an absolute tragedy, but not a crime. DeMarco Morgan is in Cleveland.
Simply put, given this perfect storm of human error, mistakes and miscommunications by all involved that day, the evidence did not indicate criminal conduct by police.
Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Tim McGinty said this enhanced video shows 12-year-old Tamir Rice was pulling a pellet gun out of his waistband just before he was shot.
Either intended to hand it over to the officers or show them it wasn't a real gun. But there was no way for the officers to know that because they saw the events rapidly unfolding in front of them from a very different perspective.
Prosecutors say the police radio dispatcher was also to blame for not telling the officers that the gun may have been fake and that the suspect may have been underage. That information came in on a 911 call.
He's sitting on the swing right now, but he keeps pulling it in and out of his pants and pointing it at people. It's probably a juvenile, you know? It's probably fake, but you know what? He's scaring the shit out of me.
But the radio dispatcher told the officers this.
He said in the park by the youth center, there's a black male sitting on the swings. So he keeps pulling a gun out of his pants and pointing it at people.
Officer Lohman shot Rice within 2 seconds of pulling up to the scene with his training officer, Frank Garmbach. Matt Meyer, the county's public corruption unit chief, said officers are trained to shoot quickly when they believe a suspect may open fire.
It is clear that had these officers known this was possibly a child and the gun was possibly a toy, they would not have considered this incident to have been so serious and almost certainly would have used different tactics.
Walter Madison represents the Rice family.
There was an expectation that this would be the outcome of the grand jury process, but there's nothing like knowing it's real now, and they have to live with that.
Now, Jeff, the family of Tamir Rice complained that the officers were allowed to give statements to the grand jury and were not asked questions, something they say would never happen if a civilian were accused. The officers remain under restricted duty.
All right, DeMarco Morgan in.
All right, here we go again.
That one bucks my trend.
No, well, but here's the thing. He's a
criminal. Wasn't.
Wait, hold on. Let me give you some voice here. Go ahead.
He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't resisting arrest. But the police were called on him, and it really sounds that they gave the impression that made the officer more potentially in fear of his life. Is a nice way to put it.
here's the thing, Chris. Did you see? There was pictures of the gun.
Yeah.
That gun looked like a gun.
It looked like a real 9mm, and my understanding, it had the orange cap on the end of it that toys have, and he took the cap out.
Correct.
But was pointing it at people as they were walking and driving by and biking by, and that was the call.
An Ohio grand jury today declined to indict two.
But the question becomes, here's what the question becomes, is this racism? It's tragic. It's a child.
Yes.
It is a child. It's a 12-year-old child. But is it racism? No. Does the rational mind say? And here's what the police rep says here. Here's what he says. Wait a minute. I see. Here's what the police rep says. He says this. The Rice case has been exacerbated racial tension in Cleveland. Neither officer involved, including rookie officer Timothy Loman, who fired the fatal shot, was indicted by the county's grand jury after an investigation that lasted more than a year. And some in Cleveland blamed Tamir and his mother for him carrying a toy gun in a park after he removed the orange indicator. Steve Lomas, president of the Cleveland Police Patrolman Association, defended Loman a few months later after the shooting, saying, Tamir Rice is in the wrong. He's menacing. Now, I don't agree. He says he's menacing.
He was menacing.
Menacing meaning with the gun. I mean, that's menacing. When I'm doing this, that's a menace, right? Yeah. He's a 5'7", 191 pounds. He wasn't that little kid you see in the pictures. He's a 12-year-old in an adult body.
Okay, that changes.
Wait, hold on. I can't hear you. Go ahead.
I'm 5'9", 178 pounds.
I'm looking at Chris. Chris is looking at me. The pictures that we saw of Tamir were nothing like that. If that, can I be clear? Can I tell the truth? Can I tell the ugly truth? If you're black male and you're 5'7",
191 pounds.
He played football, didn't he? But no, if you're 5'7", 190 pounds, you're a man. You look like a man. You look like a man. And if I'm a policeman with training, with my trainer, correct, and they've gone through all types of training about when to shoot, and they've got to make a split-second decision. But if you're 12 and you're playing, there are people you should not play with.
Correct.
And the 911 person? I'm sorry. I was a secretary. I was administrative. Details matter. When you are taking a message, even when I call 911, which I do often, when I have to, I give as much detail to that person so they can convey the information. That's tragic. That's the huge tragedy in all this, because if she had done her job and given all the information to the officers and she's sending them to a park, I mean, it's just like common sense. And she leaves that out? I can't even imagine. It's like playing operator.
But here's the thing. It was tragic. One of the things that never came out, and they looked for it, what happened to the dispatcher in the way of discipline. And that was, I didn't see anything on that. You saw it? Go ahead, Abby.
I don't know what the penalty was, but she was actually blamed for it.
Yeah, I know.
Her poor. Okay, I don't know what the penalty was. Yeah, I don't know.
See, so here's the thing, but here's the question. Was this racist? No. Was it racism? And Prof. Eric, you are wrong according to the city of Cleveland and according to LeBron James, the NBA, Black Lives Matters, wrong in all of that, because Tamir Rice is a big thing when it comes to these black men getting killed.
This is a simple question. Did he get shot because he was black? That answer is no. Period. I'm sorry. No. Because when they came up to the situation, they've got to assess everything. One of the things that has to be assessed, and it bothers me to no end, that at the same time we're talking about police officers getting physical to include shooting black males, okay? At the exact same time, and some folks don't want people to talk about it, you've got black males shooting other black males and anybody else who's in the vicinity. So I'm sorry, a police officer has to take that into consideration. What kind of individual is this that we're getting a report on that's pulling guns in and out of his pants? Now, that's in a park.
So, dude was pulling out a gun, pointing at several people. I don't see black or white. Go ahead.
And since you brought it up, Prof. Eric, I just want to let you know that according to the Washington Post database of fatal police shootings, 9 unarmed black victims and 19 unarmed white victims of fatal police shootings there were 9 black and 9 unarmed whites in 2019. The number of unarmed blacks shot and killed is down 76% from 2015 when the Post began keeping its database. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. Okay, these 9 allegedly unarmed black victims represent 0.1, that's 0.1% of all black homicide victims, which number about 7,500 a year. So let's put some of this into context.
And that's what has to be done. That's what has to be done. Everything has to be put into context. If you listen to the narrative, 50,000 black males have been killed. I mean, really. And if we can't talk based on facts or the truth, then there's no need to talk.
Yeah, but you have people marching, and again, it seems as though the facts don't matter. You know, I got to move on. The next one is going to be Walter Scott. Now, if you know anything about Walter Scott, this may be one. The man was running. I don't mean to laugh, but he was running. That's why I was laughing, Chris. You didn't have to say it, but my goodness. But here's, again, it's tragic. I am not laughing because of what happened, but Walter Scott could not run me, man. But look at this. Here we go right here. That was cold-blooded murder, and he has since been charged and convicted, and convicted of convicted of second-degree murder, in which he is spending 20 years in prison. That was awful. But so is this proof of the Black Lives Matters march thing? No, it's really hard whether or not he's white or black. But then again, no justice, no peace. I think that was justice. He went to jail. He's in prison as we speak for 20 years. So Walter Scott, that was horrible. Time, oh my goodness, we've been at this for almost an hour. Let's move on. You know what? For the sake of time, Alton Sterling, I'm not going to show the video, but Alton Sterling was the guy in Baton Rouge that was, the police was called on him. And he was wrestling the police, and you actually see on the video, the gun fall out of his pocket. and he was reaching for it. The dude had a rap sheet a mile long. They called the police on him again, but he was a person to where the police was called on him, and the police shot him as he was wrestling with them. Which, again, for sake of time, which leads us to the last one, in which out of this one, the famous say her name began. None other than Breonna Taylor, March 13th of this year. Let me show you. And here's the tragedy about this one. The police in the city caved. In Louisville, Kentucky, they caved. They paid her family $12 million. Before I go any further, let me just go ahead and play the video of the news, the local news in Louisville, Kentucky. Here we go. And then we're going to come back with Brandon Tatum. Here we go.
So, Eamon, let's start with that settlement, because, of course, that is a settlement to the civil lawsuit. It's completely separate from the question over whether there will be criminal charges. So let's start with that settlement. There are really two components for that. One is financial, $12 million going to the family of Breonna Taylor. And during that news conference, what we heard from attorney Ben Crump is he believes that is the largest settlement ever paid out for a wrongful death lawsuit for a black woman killed by police in America. So certainly a notable amount, a major amount, and many would say a historic amount there going to Breonna Taylor's family. The other part of it is a list of police reforms that are now going to be implemented by the Louisville Police Department, and they have to do with transparency and accountability. So on that front, there are going to be some reforms around search warrants, which of course is what led to her death more than 6 months ago. Now those have to be signed off by a commanding officer before they can be obtained. And there are also going to be changes to the ways that officers are investigated internally. So those are some of the changes that we're seeing, along with a number of other changes. And of course, they're calling this a major step. They say that this is a major step, but just a first step. Here's attorney Ben Crump. Take a look.
It sets a precedence for other black women, that their lives won't be marginalized, that they will be valued. These dangerous no-knock warrants are disproportionately executed against black people in America.
So, Eamon, you heard there from attorney Ben Crump talking about that settlement that came out today. But I've got to say that one thing that we heard repeatedly through this news conference, either from attorneys for the family, from some of the activists that have been there for months, even from Breonna Taylor's mother, and from people that I've been speaking with throughout the day as well, is that this is just a first step. They say that their real focus, their true focus, is seeing criminal charges for those officers who were involved in her death. So as far as where that stands right now, we know that, of course, is in the hands of the state attorney general. We understand that he's presenting evidence to a grand jury, possibly as early as this week, sources tell NBC News. So they focused on that specifically, and especially Breonna Taylor's mother, who says, yes, this is good, but Breonna deserves those charges. Eamon.
Breonna deserves those charges. Want to give some a shout out to Brandon Tatum. He's big on the social media platform, and let me introduce you, for those who don't know Brandon Tatum, Officer Tatum. Here he go. He speaks the truth, y'all. Don't matter what color it is. Here he go.
They still lying about Breonna Taylor. First and foremost, Breonna Taylor was not asleep. Second of all, Breonna Taylor was not an innocent little EMT, little black girl trying to make her life better. She was kneecap, thigh-high deep in criminal activity with Jamarcus Glover. Another factual situation is that the warrant, she was on the warrant. This was a warrant specifically for Breonna Taylor, her house and her vehicle. Another fact, they conducted a knock warrant. They did not conduct a no-knock warrant. And this is what bothers me about this no-knock-knock situation. Breonna Taylor's case necessitated brainless city council people to create the Breonna Taylor law. I mean, not necessarily city council, but the leadership in Kentucky, to create the Breonna Taylor law banning no-knock warrants. Riddle me this, Batman. Her case is an example of why you should use a no-knock warrant, because they knocked on Breonna Taylor's door, which resulted in you know what. They did a no-knock on Jamarcus Glover, where they arrested like 5 people. They got firearms, rifles, drugs, everything. Nobody got hurt in a no-knock warrant. So you tell me which one makes sense. Anyway, those are things that are factually misrepresented. I don't know if they still saying that Kenneth Walker, which was her boyfriend at the time, that he didn't shoot first. He shot first. Kenneth Walker heard the police knocking on the door. He admitted in documents, in investigatory documents, that he heard the knocking on the door. He claimed that he didn't hear them say police. Come on, man. Come on, weed man. So this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go to the factual leaked information on TatumReport.com so you can see exactly what's going on. And I'm not going to read it out because I'm going to leave it up to you. It's like 49 pages. But I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what's going on. Let's go to Tatum Report.
All right, if you want to see the rest of that, you go to the Tatum Report. What say ye? I mean, how could Brandon Tatum be right when you heard the NBA, the NFL, not only the NFL, the one team which heaven loves, the Saints, actually have Breonna Taylor. That's their theme for the year. Makes me sick. But how is everybody wrong? Somebody riddle me that, Batman. How is everybody wrong when you know, when it seems like these people were criminals?
Okay, and help me out. When you're trying to make a case for something, don't you always lead with your best evidence? So think about that for a minute. If these cases are the best evidence that there is an epidemic of police killing black men, unarmed black men, there is no case.
Doesn't seem to be a case for racism. Again, where's the objective evidence? As Prof. Abby continues to ask that question, where's the evidence?
If you don't know by now, that was racist what you just did. You cannot use logic because that is a white value system thing, and you can't do that. It's a white man's tool. You didn't know that.
I forgot. Liberty is also one too. And freedom. Capitalism, freedom.
Yeah. Other white, couple more white.
Accountability, work hard, right?
And that's how foolish it is. What we're saying is what was actually in the museum. What was it again? The Museum of African American that said that logic and reason was a white man's tool. How? What fool
I believe it
could even? Hold on. Go ahead. What's it?
What's whiteness? Hard work. Facts.
Who said that? No, but reason. You can't use reason. I remember that one. That was in the African American Museum in Washington D.C. talking about the oppression of black people because white people keep trying to push their value system on black people. One being logic and reason. Yeah, Eric. Yeah. See, you use that. Yeah. It is. Exactly. That's racist. That's racist.
Okay. One of the foundational. You're gonna make me say this. One of the foundational tenets of some black organizations, and I'm saying this as a group because I don't want to say it as individuals, is that the definition of racism cannot be applied to black people.
Correct, because they're oppressed.
Right. So what happens when they're not oppressed?
By that time, your head is cut off and it doesn't matter. So that's how Marxism works. By the time you figure it out, we backed the wrong horse. You figure that out when your head goes in the guillotine and you're wondering, why am I here? You've been a useful idiot.
What was the term?
Hold on.
Useful idiots.
Yeah.
Here, just a little historical note. There were people in prison in Russia who were certain that their big brother Stalin did not know, he could not possibly know that they were in prison. Because if he knew, he wouldn't allow this. So the delusion, there's...
Delusional.
Oh my goodness.
So let me just say this. No one here, especially me, is saying that anyone rejoices over the death of black people. That would be foolish. That means I am rejoicing over the death of my children, my wife, my family, and all by myself. No one is saying that. But here's the rock bottom, and then we'll go around the round table. We'll end this way. When you claim to be a Christian, you pledge allegiance to God your Father, the God of truth. Jesus says this in John, "For this reason I was born, for this reason I came in the world, to bear witness to the truth. All who listens to truth hears my voice." You cannot be involved in a movement or anything that is devoid of truth. This, in my opinion, the propaganda that's taking place, that police or the epidemic is that police is murdering black men. It's a farce. It is designed to widen the gap between the races, to anger the black community. And now that we've shown you evidence, we've shown you truth, you should be insulted every time somebody tries to push a narrative that is not factual. Because you know what they're saying? You're dumb enough to believe it. Exactly. That is what is going on. And I think the whole Black Lives Matters, the Breonna Taylor, say her name, Jacob Blake, and all the other ones, that you are too stupid to look at the facts. You are too stupid to look at what happened with reason, and build your life and emotions on the truth. You're so stupid. We can easily manipulate you because you don't know truth, even if for such a time as this shows you the truth. You don't know it. So go around the round table, say our last words. Who is next? Go ahead.
In the end, as Christians, we are commissioned to go out and spread the good news that despite all of us being sinners, and the price of one sin is eternal damnation, eternal punishment, the Lord and God of the universe sent his only begotten Son to earth to be a sacrificial lamb for us, that any who believe shall not perish but have eternal life. That is our ultimate. That's where we come from. When we have these discussions and we talk about it, and there's always questions of what do we do about it? Spread the word of Christ. When you grow up without knowing his sacrifice for you individually, not collectively, not corporately, but me personally, Eric personally, Lisa Joy personally, that's powerful, and the Holy Spirit changes you. That is our ultimate goal, is to spread the good news. And when there is a question of why do we have hope when the world seems to be burning, well, I have hope because Christ died for me, and I know how it ends. When he returns, all the tears will be gone. All the pain, all the hurt, all of this racism and hatred will be gone when he comes back, and that's ultimately what we pray for.
And I just want to say that this is not coincidence, that this is based on lies. And who is the father of lies? This is so destructive. It is causing so much division among people who were not formerly divided. This comes from the devil. It comes from the pit of hell. And as Christians, we must first and foremost be people of the truth. And Christians will care and do care about the truth. And they will care about the details of each and every one of these cases, and take the time to figure it out. So I do challenge all my Christian brothers and sisters to take the time to do that. That is supposed to be the hallmark of being a brother and sister in Christ.
Amen.
And we were talking about, all this destruction and violence and stuff, and what was the meaning of it is to create chaos, to break down relationships, to not let us talk to one another, and we need to talk to one another. You can't love people unless you get to know them. And with all the things that are going on in the world, we say when we see the violence and the racial things, they go, oh, it's election year. If you think about the black percentage of the states being so little and them trying to divide us even more, they must be really worried. They must be really worried because we need to stand together.
God himself came down and lived among us for 33 years. At the age of 30, he picked out 12 individuals, spent 3 years investing in them, poured his life in them, and after all of that, one of them betrayed him. What are you saying? I'm saying that Christianity is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It's not joining a group. It's not joining any group of any kind. It is a one-on-one personal relationship. Our relationships are as individual as our fingerprints. So anytime you start dealing with anything that addresses you as part of a group, you got to look very carefully at what it is.
And we will end with this. Jesus Christ said, everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. Do not fall victim to lies and the father of lies. God bless and amen.
For such a time as this,